All right, a pleasant morning to everyone. We welcome you to the third installment of this year's fifth National Career Advocacy Congress with the theme, A Vision of Future-Proof Filipino Talent, Embracing the Post-Pandemic Culture. I am Jessica Garcia, your host for today's webinar. Let us formally begin today's program with a prayer to be followed by the singing of the national anthem.
God of all, thank you for each mind and heart that fills the presence of this gathering. We come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help for the task we set out to accomplish today. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you clearly show us how to conduct our work with the spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Help us work together and encourage each other to excellence. O God, our healer, show your compassion for the whole human family that is in turmoil and burdened with illness and with fear. Come to our aid in this time of pandemic. Heal our world and our bodies. Strengthen our hearts and minds, and in the midst of turmoil, give us hope and peace. We ask this in the name of the Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Again, we welcome you all to the third webinar of this year's NCAC with an overall theme, Learn, Adapt, Thrive, Rising Above Employment Challenges in the Post-Pandemic Future. No, we are thrilled. We are happy and thrilled to have strong and enthusiastic participants here in Zoom, with many more tuning in via Facebook Live. I mean, from day one till day three of our webinar series, you guys have been showing how this Congress has helped you a lot in relearning, adapting, and thriving towards career guidance and employment coaching. Thank you once again for joining us this Monday morning. Now, as a refresher, the National Career Advocacy Congress is a collaboration project under the Career Guidance Advocacy Program, or CGAP, of national government agencies, which serves as a platform to engage key stakeholders on relevant issues in career and employment coaching and the current labor and employment trends, in line with the CGAP's role of addressing jobs and skills mismatch. Indeed, even a pandemic cannot waver our spirit towards career guidance and employment coaching. Despite the postponement of the fifth NCAC last year, here we are meeting virtually and are excited to continue to learn, adapt, and thrive towards a proactive career guidance and employment coaching. Today, we will listen to various resource speakers and panelists who will tackle the challenges and opportunities for career guidance in the new normal, as well as the strategies and approaches in preparing our young and adult workforce for the future labor market and opportunities for lifelong learning. We are joined by various stakeholders from the education and training sectors, career advocacy groups, and our regional DOLE and interagency partners via Zoom and Facebook Live. Again, thank you for joining us today. To formally start the last webinar of the fifth NCAC, we would like to welcome DOLE Assistant Secretary for Regional Operations, Labor Standards, and Special Concerns Cluster, Dr. Maria Teresita S. Cucueco, for her welcome remarks.
The members of the Career Guidance Advocacy Program Working Group, namely the Department of Education, Department of Science and Technology, Commission on Higher Education, Professional Regulation Commission, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, the Federation of Career Guidance Advocates Networks of the Philippines, and to our colleagues from the department, to our gracious resource speakers from the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, the International Labor Organization, as well as our esteemed panelists from the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association, the Career Development Association of the Philippines, the People Management Association of the Philippines, to all officers and members of the networks of guidance counselors and career advocates, and the Public Employment Service Office managers and their career guidance and employment coaching implementers, to my fellow colleagues in the government, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning. We welcome all of you to the 5th National Career Advocacy Congress, or NCAC, now on its third leg of the webinar series with the theme, A Vision of Future-Proof Filipino Talent, Embracing the Post-Pandemic Culture. Thank you for joining us today. In anticipation of the post-pandemic future, the Career Guidance Advocacy Program, or CGAP, still continues its advocacy towards reaching the overall goal of equipping registered guidance counselors and career advocates with necessary labor market information and existing interventions of the government, which will help in enhancing career guidance delivery to students and job seekers. With the sub-theme, A Vision of Future-Proof Filipino Talent, Embracing the Post-Pandemic Culture, today's webinar will tackle the challenges and the emerging opportunities for career guidance as part of equipping implementers in the new normal. Further, development of strategies and approaches in preparing the young as well as the adult workforce for the future labor market will be shared to ensure that students and job seekers are guided accordingly towards their future careers and embracing the culture of a post-pandemic labor market. Lifelong learning is generally voluntarily and self-motivated based on a pursuit to learn more, gain new skills, or support professional development. However, it is now being viewed as increasingly vital to individuals and to future growth and development of the education and skills sector. No matter if you are a long tenured employee or entering the workforce for the first time, it is important for us to have the knowledge, skills, and ability to deliver the job well and committed to continuous growth and development throughout our careers. Recent trends, including digitalization, are leading to structural changes in the economy and transforming the world of work and employment. In turn, evolving labor markets are calling for updated and proactive education and skilling paradigms, creating an urgent need for flexible, evolving, and responsive career guidance systems is indeed being called for. We hope that this webinar will help us expand our appreciation about lifelong learning. Thriving in this ever-changing world of work demands lifelong learning, continuous skills development, and the mastery of new technologies. Muli, maraming salamat at magandang araw po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Asik Tess, for your encouraging words. Now, from an inspiring message, let's keep ourselves excited as we proceed to the plenary presentation. The COVID-19 pandemic has heightened uncertainties around the globe over the economy, health, finances, travel, and of course, employment. While many factors during this period remain outside of our control, it is key to adapt to these changes and navigate the future proactively. Embracing the current situation, widely known as the new normal, requires confronting uncertainties and incorporating it into our decision making. Our first speaker graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Marketing Management from the De La Salle University. He returned to the Philippines after 22 years being assigned in various foreign countries in the military and aerospace electronics industries. He has been with EMS for 15 years, starting as managing director, and is currently the chairman and CEO of EMS group of companies engaged in providing contract manufacturing, engineering, and electronic assembly services and skills development. Among his affiliations are with the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, where he sits at its Board of Governors, Coalition of Philippine Manufacturers of PPE as vice chairman, Federation of Economic Zone Service Providers as co-chairman, FIF Foundation Incorporated as advisor, Philippine Exporters Confederation Incorporated, sitting at their Board of Trustees Electronics Sector, Philippine Japan Economic Cooperation Committee Incorporated Board of Trustees Treasurer, Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry as Director for Technology and Innovation, as well as Chairman of the Industry Committee and the Semiconductor of Electronics Industries in the Philippines, Incorporated as Board Member and Treasurer. To provide us insights on the challenges and opportunities for career development in the new normal, let us welcome Mr. Ferdinand Perry Fitted.
Thank you. Thank you again, Jessica, and good morning to everyone. I am Perry Ferrer. I do chair the Job Creation Committee of the Employees Confederation of the Philippines, or ECOP. And thank you, DOLE Secretary Belio and the Department of Labor, ASEC, Teresita Cucueco, to the various government agencies that are present, my fellow presenters, guests, good morning again to everyone. It is indeed an honor to be part of this very timely discussion and share with you the private sector perspective. I hope that I will be able to impart insights from what I'm going to discuss and help our students and job seekers navigate their career paths and understand the world of work. Next slide, please. First, let me walk you through what I will discuss today. First off, it will be about employability gaps and limitations. I will give an overview of the challenges that must be addressed to ensure a better future of work. Then the future of learning and job creation during the pandemic. I will try to tackle the importance of the digital mode of learning in terms of preparing the workforce as they enter the labor market, highly powered by the fourth industrial revolution. Third are the opportunities for career development that are beneficial for students and job seekers, skills development, as well as reskilling and upskilling. Lastly, I would like to share with you ECOP's call related to our topic today. Next slide, please. The fast-paced society that we live in, combined with the disruptions brought by the pandemic, has brought to the forefront the clamor to have a systematic input-output process of labor market information, or LMI. The challenge with LMI is the effort that it needs for it to remain up-to-date or current. The lack of comprehensive and up-to-date LMI may result to the so-called job and skills mismatch, which has long been a challenge in ever-changing business environment. It becomes difficult for the new entrants or job seekers to map out their career and find permanent employment. Lastly, training and development. Most employers, especially the smaller ones, do not have the capacity to invest on training and development of new hires or access to free trainings, which is why they tend to refuse hiring applicants that have little or zero work experience. Next slide, please. The future of learning is here. What we just imagined in the past is actually happening now. Learning powered by modern technology. With just a gadget, smartphone, and the like, and a reliable internet, again, a reliable internet connectivity, you are good to go. Anywhere, anytime learning is possible, even at your own pace. Students are able to have a digital experience of education through online learning. They are digital and agile already even before they start working. With these modules, modules are accessible online. Students are given the chance to have a sneak peek on the importance of learning management systems, a modern tool that helps deliver lifelong learning for their employees. Next slide, please. Job creation during the COVID-19 pandemic is what I will discuss. You know, COVID-19 has indeed accelerated the transition to the new economy and creation of new jobs, where technology fuels growth and innovation. It has deeply influenced the labor market, as it highlighted the need for workers to have digital literacy. Employers had to think of solutions on how to sustain their business operations now that the traditional business models have suddenly become obsolete. The good thing is what we have gradually adapted the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution, the way before the pandemic started. We realized that in one way or another, our only way is through adaptation of digitalization. We live in a period where almost everything, actually everything, can be transacted online. Services are now also provided online. All this can be done with just a few keystrokes, a few searches, and clicks on the web or digital applications. With these two phenomena simultaneously happening and impacting the labor market, we need to envision a new future of work to make it inclusive and sustainable. If we take into consideration the current business landscape, it gives us a realization that we need to hire workers that will be able to function in a highly modern business environment, right? If that is the case, we should also be able to think what we can do in order to make sure that the skills of our workforce match with the demands of the employers as well as what is available in the jobs market. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about digital literacy and its benefits. You know, for students in digital literacy, the experience of a three-dimensional mode of learning. It prepares students to adapt e-learning, online learning, and develop technology skills. The benefits: accessible learning, virtual connection anytime, anywhere, interaction with peers, coaches, mentors, all online. You do not have to wait face-to-face. With this kind of learning, we discovered that we were able to learn despite the distance and unfamiliar method. Now, we are given more flexibility in terms of the way we learn. If not for the pandemic and the fourth industrial revolution, we might not be able to discover or at least accelerate online learning, blended learning, and the other approaches to learning. Next slide, please. I hope I will share in this slide, everyone will find it inspiring and decide to do the same to our future workforce. More and more companies are investing in the skilling and upskilling of their employees, as it is essential component to make sure that the workforce remains relevant and able to do work alongside AI, robots, machines efficiently and effectively. As jobs are transformed by the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, we definitely need to upskill and reskill our workforce. In 2022, next year, the World Economic Forum estimates 133 million new jobs in major economies will be created to meet the demands of the fourth industrial revolution. In the Philippines, the ILO estimates that 49% of employment, that's over 18 million jobs, face risk of automation. And this is where the importance of soft skills development entered. To succeed in the 21st century labor market, one of the important components of skills development is to have comprehensive soft skills. We need to find ways to make sure that our workforce does not suffer from job loss due to automation. Next slide, please. You know, come to think of it, if 65% of enterprises around the world took active measures to continue upskilling and reskilling their employees, why can't companies in the Philippines do the same for new hires that are fresh graduates? If 53% of enterprises around the world adjusted the training period for apprentices, why can't companies find ways so that they can also offer more apprenticeship programs to students and eventually take them into the company as employees? If 37% of enterprises around the world even partnered with external organizations to facilitate staff training and development, then we should also find ways on how to strengthen industry-academe linkages in order to create a demand-led training courses and program. We at ECOP hope that through training and skills development, we're able to open more doors of opportunities for our workforce, especially for students, fresh graduates, and new entrants, as they are our future. Next slide, please. Now, I echo ECOP's call for a strengthened industry-academe linkage. It is high time for us to work on the coordination between industry and academe to facilitate effective decision-making at the national and regional levels for TVET. ECOP, as an umbrella organization of employers across the country, calls for the need to facilitate close coordination involving industry associations in mapping out the TVET system of our country. The voice and support from industry associations and employers are important as it creates demand-led approach to TVET. In this way, we're able to create a system where matching between the supply of training provision and the skills demand in the local economy is accurate and responsive. ECOP is hopeful that the government can help facilitate this by ensuring a conducive policy environment that is attractive to employment generation and continuous learning and development. My last slide. With that, I end my presentation. Those are the basics, but are considered as the pillars of what ECOP believes as it means to ensure future-proofing of Filipino talent. I hope I was able to channel some inspiration for the future steps of our future workforce. Thank you very much for your time and listening. Mabuhay.
Thank you, Sir Perry, for an excellent presentation. Many countries are experiencing a persistent gap between the skills needed in the labor market and those offered by the workforce. Skills development has an important role to play in the immediate effort to lessen the impact of the lingering COVID-19 pandemic and building the resilience of workers and firms and towards our recovery. To discuss the strategies and approaches in preparing young people for the future labor market, here with us is the National Project Coordinator of the Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, also known as STEM, project of the International Labor Organization. Her mission is to encourage more girls to choose to take technology courses and to help more women working in STEM related occupations to stay and advance in the workplace. This year, she will also be assuming the role of National Project Coordinator for the WE or We Rebuild project for women entrepreneurs. Before working with the ILO, she was the first CEO and public affairs head of education startup Educacion.ph, a web portal that helps young people find the right education for the jobs they aspire for, where she had firsthand experience of leading a tech company alongside other male founders and CEOs. Prior to working in a tech startup, she worked for more than 7 years as the chief of the Advocacy and Publications Division of the Institute for Labor Studies, the policy research and advocacy arm of the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE. At the Institute, she was the focal person for the joint program on youth employment and migration with the United Nations, which focused on helping young people find jobs. With a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from the De La Salle University, a Bachelor of Laws degree from the Philippine Christian University, and a Social Entrepreneurship Diploma from the Ateneo de Manila, she is the first Filipina to be chosen for the U.S. State Department hashtag Hidden No More Women in STEM Leadership Program in Washington, D.C. Let us put our hands together for Miss Lenartes M. Villoria. Miss Lights, the virtual floor is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you for that generous introduction. It's nice to be back here at the Department of Labor and Employment, and nice to be back with our career advocates who I worked with at Educacion for our career advocacy efforts, particularly our friends from PGCA, also our friends from CDAP, PMAP. I saw Sir Perry. We also work with Sir Perry for our in-business soft skills training program. So it's nice to be amongst everybody who has worked with us on soft skills. No? So, but yes, good morning to everybody. No, I'm glad that Sir Perry has already mentioned some of the aspects, that we have seen in what are the skills that our industry needs. And so I'm gonna narrow down it a little bit more. No, I can imagine, especially those from the schools right now, those from the DOLE regions, you're like, okay, so if this is the demand of the industry, how can I bring these demands, to the classroom and or to our schools? So for today, I'll be sharing with you a few tips that we learned, lessons that we learned in doing our work for the Women in STEM Workforce Readiness Program. So as mentioned, we started first in encouraging first women, women and girls to get into careers in STEM. But as we went along with the program, we actually learned different aspects in terms of how are we to engage with our job seekers, how are we preparing them to be job ready. And because these new forces are transforming the world of work, we see how technology changes, automation is changing the way the work is right now. No? You heard what Sir Perry was mentioning about the automation of jobs. And we see that, we see that already in terms of the turning of the customer service jobs to chatbots. You don't get a lot of customer service people now because chatbots can actually answer your queries in real time online. No? Or perhaps you might have heard of jobs in robotic process automation, wherein software can actually automate these tasks, which actually entails less labor costs and at the same time less error in terms of the delivery of the service. Our study, in 2016 looked into that, what are these jobs that are at risk of automation? And we saw that in several countries. And in the Philippines in particular, we saw that 89% of these jobs, held at the BPO industry will be automated, and we are already seeing that. And most of these jobs are held by women, in which this was one of the reasons why our program focused on women and in particular the BPO industry. And then, of course, um, in the midst of all these changes happening, we also saw how the pandemic, radically changed the way we do work, and we saw that when we had no choice. We had no choice, to shift to a digital workplace. From doing work that required high physical proximity, we had to move to work that required low physical proximity. We saw that, in medical care, in personal care, in customer interaction, tourism, and this shift to computer-based work, suddenly, opened the door for remote work. And at the same time, it accelerated the digitization of work. What once before was something that you think you'll see in the future, it became our present, And automation even accelerated at a higher pace. And this required, a certain transition in terms of how we are to deliver these deliver trainings, deliver work, and the studies have shown, that with this shift, there has already been, even during the pandemic, even during this whole transition that we are experiencing right now, we saw the shift to the demand for more STEM professionals. If you can see here, countries such as the US, France, Germany, Japan, and China, have been shifting to the demand for more STEM professionals. And what's also something to note also, there has been a lower demand for other low-skill jobs such as customer service, production and warehousing, office support. And we can see here that because the work has shifted to an online setup, the skills required, even just appearing, in this online workplace has created that demand for a new set of skills that we need to have. And because of that, because it's always changing, right? Like you think you understand already how to work across the online workplace, and then you realize there are other problems that are, that are connected to it. And so it shows that we need to have more social and emotional skills as well as technological skills, which is very obvious right now. During normal times, we would be in one big ballroom, and we would be like, looking for everybody that we know. But now, you're scrolling down and seeing who is here, looking at the chat box. And you see here how, number one, technological skills will be very essential for you. Who here, when we first started doing Zoom was a nervous wreck, unmuting themselves, turning on video, turning on off video, figuring out their mic, fidgeting around, and that requires, a certain set of mindset in terms of learning what's required of the new normal. And especially if you want to move up into occupations of higher brackets, it's important that you have that growth mindset. You have that learning mindset, that you are willing to try new things. You're learning to develop your critical thinking in order to develop these solutions, that are coming, in the everyday challenges of the pandemic. And so for this year, the ILO came up with the 2021 ILO core work skills. And, while this was being done, while we were doing this pre-pandemic, we had to revisit this again and say, okay, now that the new normal is here, how does that change? How does that change our mindset? How does that change our perspective, the foundational skills that we will need? And so we came up with 4 core work skills. And some of this you might know already, but it becomes even more needed. For those who have been in skills development work for quite some time, we hear a lot, 21st century skills. And we look at that as, at some point we looked at that as abstract concepts, but during the pandemic we saw how important that was. How are we becoming creative in terms of delivering training, for instance? How are we to understand, how to deal with this pandemic? We use critical thinking. And so we saw, number one, social emotional skills. How do you communicate? And when we say communicate, it's not just giving a PowerPoint, right? It's communicating, what is the problem? It's communicating to different people from different schools, different organizations. How do you communicate that message? How do you communicate, the impact to you of these challenges? Number 2, collaboration and teamwork. It's amazing how we are able now to all meet, I can see here 342 participants. And imagine you being able to collaborate with everybody here in just one city. You don't have to travel to all the way to Isabela or to Albay, we're here, and how do we make use of this platform, for instance? Number 3, conflict resolution and negotiation, especially since we're all so far away and we cannot reach out, we cannot see our faces, how do we negotiate that? And or for our young learners, how do they do that, if you have never had any experience doing that? And of course, most important, your emotional intelligence, the more you get exposed to more people in a faster pace, and in just one screen, how are you able to adjust to these changes, to these different personalities that you are seeing? And which is very important, especially when we are talking about your workplace readiness. As Sir Perry mentioned, we need workers who have these skills, who are able to adjust to these changes in the workplace. Another one is cognitive and metacognitive skills, these foundational literacies, analytical and critical thinking, because there is no rule book now, of what's happening in the pandemic, now that we have another new variant, everybody's now thinking, how will this affect our operations? How will I just adjust my job? Will there be face-to-face training? Will it be totally Zoom trainings all the time, right? These are critical thinking skills. How do you solve these problems? And for new entrants in the workplace, how are we preparing our learners to be able to face those challenges? Of course, problem solving, decision making, planning and organizing, and career management. And I'll discuss this later, especially now, that all of these opportunities are all in front of you. How are you planning your career? How do you find these opportunities? How do you upskill? Also, another one is basic digital skills. I think this is pretty obvious right now. You have to know how to operate your computer, and not only that, you have to be able to make use of these platforms to the best use possible that you have at work or for your personal use. How do you operate it safely in an online environment? And especially now, there has been a lot of work being done across organizations and media literacy. How do you figure out that what you are seeing is true or not? How do you verify information, and how do you protect yourself against this information that can harm you? And finally, basic skills for green jobs. Like climate change is, we feel that, and how do we adjust? How do we adjust to these changes that are happening? How does it affect our work, and how can we contribute, to lessening the impact of climate change, waste reduction, energy and water efficiency? And so it becomes more, if you look at it, if you look at how these changes are happening, we see more and more how important, that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics has become a very essential part of our lives. And hence, it's important that our learners have some aspect of these STEM learnings and competencies. I'm sure you're thinking, so does everybody need to be a doctor now? So does everybody need to be an engineer? The thing is, all our professions require a modicum of STEM competencies for us to be able to work efficiently and at the same time transition to the changes that are happening. You know, amidst advances that you are feeling in technology, you need to be ready to be flexible. You know, you have to develop your skills. You have to upskill yourself so that you can prepare for the evolving future of work. And so our program, you know, the ILO Women in STEM program, we are in 3 countries, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines. What we wanted to do, you know, was to really strengthen these linkages between our private sector firms, our institutions, our TVET centers, our schools, to ensure that we are all coordinating in terms of how are we preparing our workforce. First, number one, to get, you know, to get into the workplace. Number two, to get retained. You know, that's one thing that you get into the job, but it's another thing for you to be able to stay for at least 6 months, you know. And finally, especially for our program, the advancement of women workers in these sectors, which is where I got to work with Sir Perry, you know, for the upskilling of women workers in EMS. So maybe now you're thinking, okay, so I'm confused. You know, what are these STEM skills? You know, what if my students don't want to be an engineer and doctor? They feel they are not good in science. But actually, you know, you should be encouraging them to have these STEM skills and competencies. And when we say STEM skills, no, we are referring first, number one, the one we know of is STEM knowledge. You know, your knowledge of math, science. You know, that at the same time, you know, even if you were good at that, even if you had that information, you need to have that thinking skills, and this is where your critical thinking comes along. You know, think problem solving, systems thinking, creative, inventive technologies. Yeah? And also your social emotional intelligence and your multiliteracies, numeracy. You know, sometimes we take for granted this skill on numeracy. Measurements, especially we discussed this, you know, when we were doing the STEM and TVET framework with TESTA. You know, we were saying, like, if you were enrolled in the course on cookery, for instance, where is the STEM in that? Numeracy is a STEM skill. Imagine if you have a mistake in terms of your measurements, for instance, for baking, for instance. Imagine how that would be disastrous for you, right, as a cook. Or maybe, for instance, in welding, you know, how are you understanding why these metals go together? You know, while you have the skill, you have to understand what is the idea behind, so that in case there are problems later on, it's easy for you, you know, to adjust to these challenges. And so when we speak of STEM skills, it's actually having, you know, the thinking skills to be able to bring to life these STEM knowledge that you are seeing. You know? And we have been trying this. We have done this project actually with TESDA, with the Technical Education Skills Development Authority. And we have piloted this with some of the training regulations, because what we're saying here is you don't have to be, you know, the traditional STEM professionals for you to be able to have these STEM competencies. It's important that we are comfortable, that we have to, you know, flex these skills so that we would be able to be competitive in the future of work. And so when we started thinking about this, we said, okay, so how do we bring this to the schools? You know, how do we give them a fresh insight? How do we give them a beginner course for this? And so in cooperation with TESDA, we developed the job preparation training program. We prepared a trainer's guide and a participant workbook, because we understood, you know, like we career counselors, you know, career advocates, we need training too. We need to build our capacity also in order that we would be able to translate these skills. And we developed this so that we would be able to help, number one, first, because we had women scholars in different STEM-related TVET programs. How do they understand what are these skills that they will be needing, particularly the soft skills, in order to enter the STEM-related occupations, particularly in the business process associations, business process industry, here in the Philippines. So when we created this job preparation training program, we focused on four modules. Number one, we wanted to first look at career coaching. How do we provide them that mindset to be ready for, for the career aspirations that they have. Number two, job preparation. Number three, success skills. Number four, what are these situations, in the industry, particularly for women? And finally, the career engagement activities. So let me zero in on that even closer. So career coaching. Number one, how do you define, how do our students define their career goals? Especially now, maybe before, when we were younger, we were like, I want to be an engineer, and I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, and that was it. But now with all the information out there, it really is overwhelming. It's overwhelming to figure out, who do I really want to be? And so providing that opportunity for vision setting, so even when we were doing this in person, we had a vision setting board, a vision board, wherein they can place images on how they imagine their future. It's important for them to imagine that, so that, you're planting that seed, but it's coming from them. You're planting that seed on them, that we have to plan your future. And it's something that you shouldn't be intimidated with. It's something that you can break down into several photos, several images. And so it's listing the short-term goals, your midterm career goals, freelancing and entrepreneurship, especially this generation. They said gone are the days that our workers are staying for like 5, 10, 15 years, especially the younger workers. It's all about, exploring the world and exploring these opportunities. And so it becomes important for them to be able to brand themselves, personal branding, like, who am I. And that's very important in building their confidence, and also for them to be able to figure out, okay, what jobs am I looking at based on my skills, and how am I preparing for that? The second module is giving them the tools. For those who are not enrolled in schools which have a career program, this is great in terms of providing them those downloadable tools that they can use. So preparing a job application, preparing a resume. By the way, did you know that while back in the day, it was unthinkable for you to send a resume without a cover letter, there has been an increasing percentage, according to a lot of employers, of resumes being sent to them without a cover letter. And I thought it was just one instance, but actually there have been several instances in a younger set of workers. So something to think about also on how they see preparing for careers are, no? Then we have the mock work placement. We line up, like potential employers in that community, so that they can practice and they can, kind of gauge themselves and build their confidence as well. Number 5 is portfolio building, which is particularly very important for ICT-based courses, wherein it is required that you provide, the code that you have designed. So it's pointless to have a very long resume if you don't have that portfolio. For success skills, or these are the skills that they need to know. Sometimes we assume that they know all these skills, like communication, collaboration, critical thinking, what would be expected with them when they get to the workplace. But we cannot assume these things. And so these we give them situations, by which they better understand it. And this is where the metacognitive learning comes in. It's not just one thing that you lecture with them, but it's another thing that they have an opportunity to reflect, like, how am I to reflect this, or how am I to use this, how am I to bring this to the workplace when I am there already. And finally, women in STEM, especially for women, especially for if you are entering a non-traditional occupation, it's important to build their confidence. It's important to empower them with the skills that that they can do it. It doesn't mean that you're just one or two in that workplace. It's important to emphasize to them that they are making milestones, and they should encourage more women for that. We have tested these, no? So maybe you're saying, do you think that's going to be effective and all that, And we actually tested it. So we're also into STEM when we are running these programs. So in Qualtrics, now we surveyed before and after. So it's important for us to test it before and see how it affects behavior after. And these were just some of the highlights of their impressions on the programs. They said, I can present myself professionally to others. I am proud to submit my resume. I feel confident in my application process. And I know which personal skills I should highlight. When I saw them, their faces were not anymore like looking downward, but more on, I'm excited to do this. And I think that's what we want with our learners. And so these are just some of our students who have gone through the program. So it's tried and tested program already. So when we were doing this in person, we had our facilitators from Bagosphere who were facilitating the session using the trainer's guide. And so the trainer's guide is meant for you to be able to implement this as yourself, no? Like if you want to bring this to your school, you can be able to run it using the script on the trainer's guide. And then of course the pandemic happened and we had to shift online program. We shifted to online job modules, no? And similar to what you mentioned, we transferred this, but of course in a more interactive way. So some of you might already know this, that copying your modules online it's not as easy as that. You have to choose which one to copy and how you're going to present it online and deliver it to your learners. And so this is actually available already online. We launched this last week, with TESDA, and it's a self-paced, so it can go two ways. You can be a self-paced module that you can tell your students it's available there. Download it on your or do it on your phone or on your desktop, and they get to have the 3 modules as I mentioned a while ago, and these are interactive modules. And if you have young learners, this will appeal to them because most of the graphics here appeal to the young learners. TESDA actually chose education.ph that has a younger audience for it so that we can engage more new learners in this technology. So remember a while ago, I talked about vision settings. So they have a my career vision board so that they can place there their images on how they envision their careers. So plotting that out. Also, in terms of the resume and cover letter, we always love downloadable resumes that we can choose from and that can be our guide. So this is an example of the resume on the TESDA online program for the job readiness, online job readiness tool. And also we work with industry associations for this, PSIA, Philippine Software Industry Association, Game Development. Here is Ms. Grace Demaranan, former ACPI President, Animation Council of the Philippines. And she here as a woman animator, she talks about how she got into animation and her tips for girls. No? So at least when you see it, you see that, hey, that's a Pinoy, the thing about, also our TESDA programs, while you can always have these programs, online in other platforms, it's always good that we have this guide in terms of you can imagine yourself, to be that person too. So if they sit down and try the course, the course runs for 8 hours, pero I doubt if somebody would sit down through the course. So it's always good that they are able to mull over each module so that they get to reflect about these modules. Yeah. So we have some testimonials, and because we run this, we piloted this with our #WomenCanDoIt scholarship program, which even included returning migrant workers and even migrant workers who are taking this course, OFWs taking this course from abroad. So these are just some of their testimonials. So I learned a lot about job readiness. I was able to manage my stress and confidence. So it's really surprising. For me, I know that they will feel this way, but coming from This was an unintended audience also with our OFWs, because our programs are now online. They have been able to access it from across the world, and because they want, sometimes, like these courses that you take home makes you more connected to your home country. So they're more inclined to do these courses. So for instance, this is Resi Karandang, she is an OFW from Moscow, no? She is a household service worker there. And she said she was taking contact center services training from there. She said she learned the proper way of making a resume and applying for a job and answering interviews. So she might not be planning to be a contact center agent here, but she is using that training for her to be able to communicate to her employer. So mostly this is the testimonials from those who are working in European countries, wherein they don't intend, they want to upskill themselves so that they can find other jobs in that territory. So yeah, also other courses that you might want to consider, you might want to take a photo of this. So we have the English for STEM. So we did this with the US Embassy, for instance. We think that it's not enough that you have one foundational course. We have, for those who want to practice their English, and this is not just for our learners, but also for you as career counselors. Personally, I was listening into this course, and I it was a review of English language. So there is English as a medium of instruction, English for STEM, for those of you who are also teaching science, or English for tourism professionals. At the first week that we uploaded these courses on the TESA online program, 1,000 already registered. That's how much, communication skills and online skills is in demand right now. And yeah, so just a shameless plug, our scholarships also for our women OFWs. We opened this also to our pesos, also our polos, no? We're having our last group for our December 21 on creative web design and web development courses. They learn how to make their websites online, so all completely online. So this is still open. No? Okay. So thoughts for consideration for you. Number one, no? Something for you to think about after this presentation. Number one, for our students, how are you helping them to learn, to get online job ready in the new normal? How are you introducing to them these new tools? And what tools are available to me that you can offer to your students? This is an example of one free online tool that they can use already. Number two, advocate capacity. For you as career advocates, how are you building your capacity? It's one thing that we are telling our students, you have to upskill yourself, learn new skills, but how are you developing your own capacity, And this is a global thing. This is not just for the Philippines, but a lot of trainers across the world are already, rushing to find what's the next online training readiness course so that we might be able to deliver, on Zoom, on MS Teams, on Google Hangouts. How do we do that? There are a lot of online free and paid training. So what can you check out and use? So for instance, this English for STEM, English for tourism, English as medium of instruction. These are available for you. And these are certificated trainings, by the way, especially for those who value their TESA certificates. The online job readiness training program has a TESA certificate when they complete the training. And finally, as Sir Perry was mentioning, I think it's so crucial for you to collaborate. How can you collaborate with industries within my locations? Maybe you're shy to introduce yourself to Sir Perry, who is actually the most amazing person in the job creation committee. But maybe in your community, So if you're from Isabela, who are the industries there? What companies? What major companies are there? Or in Cebu, or in in whatever locations you are. Try to strike that conversation with them, and maybe even just schedule an online career webinar such as this to talk about the jobs there. Just finding out what are the skills that they're needing, and just for you to be aware of jobs in these areas. So I end with that. Job ready ka na ba? And I mean not just online job ready ka na ba, not just for our learners but also for our trainers. So in a nutshell, let me play with you play the video on the online job readiness course of TESDA. So roll VTR.
Thank you, Ms. Lights, for imparting strategic and systematic processes through which labor markets identify and prepare to meet future skills needs, thus helping to avoid potential gaps between skills demand and supply. Such skills anticipation strategy shall indeed enable training providers, young and adult workforce, policymakers, and employers to make better educational and training choices. Now, off to our third speaker. The Technical Educational and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, primes its career ambassadors who serve as role models for young people, the country's future workers, and whom they can look up to in terms of successful career path. The career ambassador's role is to become spokespersons and advocates in influencing career seekers to make informed choices. The guidance that can be provided by the career ambassador serves as an effective tool in addressing the job skill mismatch. Our third speaker is one of the many TVET's career ambassadors from TESTA's National Regional Pool of Advocates. He is the school president and owner of the Supreme School of Culinary Arts and Technology Incorporated, Paul Lean's Crafts, Gifts and Bake Shop, and Cafe Supremo Coffee Shop. His educational attainments are in hotel and restaurant services from the Tarlac School of Arts and Trade Incorporated, Barista National Certificate 2 from the Center for Barista and Tourism Academy Training and Assessment Incorporated, and Diploma in Professional Barista from the Barista Guild Asia. He has 11 years of experience in technical vocational education and training and is a holder of 10 national certificates qualification in various sectors, accredited competency or competency assessor for barista NC2, cookery NC2, and bread and pastry production NC2. A recipient of various awards as one of the best TVET Testa Trainer of the Philippines in 2015 Tagasanay Awards, Best Batang Test the 2014 national winner, and Idols ng Test the regional winner employed category. Let us listen to his insights on the role of career guidance in post-COVID recovery from Testa's career ambassador for Central Luzon, Chef King Paul KP Gabertan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me to the 5th National Career Advocacy Congress. Today, I am tasked to present the role of the career guidance in the post-COVID recovery. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you imagine. So I'm one of the career ambassador of TESDA. So we are tasked to participate to deliver, to talk, to share our story to the young. We're the #1 promoter of the Tibet programs. The Career Ambassador vowed to inspire to the youth of the influence, career seeker, the most suitable path to take by sharing their stories and how Tibet helped them to the journey to success. All over the country, we have at least 100 plus career Tibet ambassadors that inspired the youth, the community, and to promote Tibet programs. Investing in career guidance helped the youth out of the COVID pandemic. Career guidance has a fundamental role to play in the COVID recovery in helping young people to navigate turbulent labor markets. Career guidance helps people of any age to manage their career and make the educational, training, and occupational choices that are right for them. It's particularly important for the young people as help them to reflect their ambition, interests, qualification, skills, and talent, and to relate this knowledge about who they are to who they might become in the world of work. Investing in career guidance broadened the young people's aspiration. Even prior to the pandemic, career guidance was receiving increased attention from policymakers, reflecting a concern that the skills developed in the education system might not be well aligned with emerging labor market needs, generating costly skill mismatch and shortages. How career guidance helped during the COVID recovery? The needs for the career guidance increased sharply in the context of the COVID pandemic. The crisis has deeply disrupted the demand of the worker and accelerate pattern of automation that are profoundly changing the character of work and increasing risk of unemployment, particularly for the young people. As young people stay in schooling longer, stay at home, and confront as an ever wider choice of education and training option, it's essential that they can draw a clear connection between what they do in the classroom and who they might become in the workplace. The new joint leaflet argues that the guidance has essential role in the play of enabling the youth to navigate increasingly turbulent transition. Career guidance has a fundamental role in the recovery. It's time to rethink about the middle skill job and education. What are the middle skill level? Low skill, high school or less. Middle skill, associate degree, some college, no degree, or school or less of the training certification, and high skill bachelor degree or higher. Why are middle skill are important? Middle skill jobs are key for the nation and its workforce. In TESDA, we have different training options that the community can offer. So it in line with the different sector like agriculture, tourism, construction, and other in-demand courses that can avail by our beneficiaries for free. So TESDA has a lot of scholarship offered from the community that can avail by our by the different beneficiaries of TESDA. So I have here a story of a middle level skills that choose to be practical, to be use his passion, and to share his knowledge and skill to the community. So it's titled with the first question. On the first day of school, in addition to name, birthday, and other identification details, this is a common question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Many of us, or karamihan sa atin, natanong ng ating mga magulang, teacher, or ng sino man, Ano bang gusto nating maging paglaki natin? Natatandaan po ba natin yung ating mga nasagot during nung tayo ay bata? Sa mga nagtanong, at yun po ba ay natupad na? O nangyari po ba? So, this question most asked to the children. This is Poy, a child in elementary school who was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Hard to answer, right? He still can say what kind of profession he wants to be. A question that is difficult to answer for his age. Sometimes he just copied the answer of others who want to be a doctor, nurses, teachers, and businesswomen, or other profession. Or sometimes parents or other people decide for their children's profession in the future. When Poy grew up in the simple family, his father is a soldier, his mother is an entrepreneur and cook. When Poy was in high school, his teacher asked him again what course he want to take in college. Poy has fairly answered. He said he want to take a 4-year course, a hotel and restaurant service management course. He said he want to work in a well-known hotel, restaurant, be a chef in a luxury cruise ship, or work abroad. There is something very clear that he wants. By the time he graduated from high school, he was ready to take a 4-year course. But there, as a barrier to his studies in college, first is the financial capacity to finance his studies because of the expensive tuition fees. The time, for at least 10 years ago, the tuition fee is mataas. So, but his desire to study and help his family prevail. Poy and his family choose to be practical. He took a 2-year hotel and restaurant service, a vocational technical course at a TESDA registered school. That time, he was the target of stigma. Why did you take TESDA? Bakit TESDA ka lang? Why did you not take a 4-year course? Despite of discrimination, Poy was determined to pursue his dream. He developed his skills and practical knowledge. Poy successfully completed his 2-year course. He also received various awards in his graduation. With the help of TESDA and his school, he has the courage to be competitive, to venture the industry of his choice. He immediately jumped to apply for a job and was immediately qualified for the interview. While waiting, he found out that he was the only 2-year course among 30 applicants. In his interview, he stated the skills of a TESDA graduate and what they are. He is different from those who completed a 4-year course. In the end, he got his first job in a well-known bake shop. After his contract, new opportunities opened where he applies as a Tibet trainer or a teacher at the school he was graduated. Being a teacher and sharing knowledge is one of the Poy dreams. His skills are further developed with the technical skills and knowledge that he shared with his students. He also received various awards for being a TESDA trainer. Poy explored his career and other opportunities. for his growth and to help more people to train in technical courses. He opened his own culinary school and training center. With the help of his family, people who supported him, the Gali Academy of Experts became successful. And in 2 years' time of operation, hundreds of students trained in the different technical courses. It became the center of culinary champion in Central Luzon. But it was forced to close due to pandemic. It's unfortunate because of all hard work was collapsed because of the COVID-19. Despite the pandemic and loss of livelihood, Poy did not hesitate to share his knowledge with others. He also used his ability and talent as a TVET trainer in his opening of new businesses, despite of the challenge of COVID-19. Poy continued to work hard and use God-given talents. Soon, they accumulated capital, courage, and with the help of the intense faith in God's guidance, they were able to return and learn to cope up with the pandemic. So far in 5 months, the Supreme School of Culinary Arts and Technology has more than 100 of students in different courses. And they will be a part of the Philippine National Skills Competition. Today, Poy and his family gradually reaching their dreams despite of the heat of the pandemics. The story that I'm sharing to you is my story. I was the kid asked, ano ba yung gustong mong maging pagkatapos mong mag-aral? So definitely, with the guidance also of our teachers, our parents, and with all the people who help us. So, nabubuo kung ano ba yung gusto mong maging paglaki. So, sabi nila ano ba yung sikreto sa success? Number 1 is the seek help always on our Almighty God. And He will lead you kung saan man ka magiging successful. The level of your education attainment is not the barrier or measure for you to be successful and help others. Material things or money do not measure a person's success. Pandemic is not obstacle to fulfill our dreams. With faith in God and asking for His help, we can also overcome the trials because of the pandemic. Ako po ay living proof that the pandemic is talagang walang pinili. Wala po siyang pinili kahit sino. So nandun kaya sa top of success. Pero nag-hit ang pandemic and then nawala lahat. Pero as a TESDA graduate, na binigyan ng kakayahan paano gamitin yung mga skills, knowledge, para kumita, para makaagapay sa pandemic, eventually naka-cope up kami. And now, we are helping others. So we are not a business-minded people. So we want to help others. So that for example, our tuition fees, our help is almost free to everyone. So, sana yun yung maibigay natin. At yun naman yung ginagawa ng government. I would like to also congratulate the NCAC and the DOLE, as well TESDA, having this kind of activities para magkaroon tayo ng additional information, knowledge, on how we go with the pandemic. And with the use also of our skills and knowledge. And that's will end my presentation. Thank you to everyone.
Wow, thank you so much, Chef King, Chef King, for that inspiring and really insightful presentation. If I may just highlight what he has mentioned earlier, dream big, stay focused, make it happen. Again, dream big, stay focused, make it happen. To all our viewers or attendees this morning, I hope you are encouraged by that. Whatever phase you are in right now, wherever phase you are in right now in your life, always remember, keep that in mind, to dream big, stay focused, and make it happen. Now, I hope our participants, particularly those who endeavor to attain continuing professional development points, took note of the wonderful insights from our resource speakers this morning, as your learnings will be verified through an evaluation form that we will share later. Now, before we proceed to the next part of the program, let us first have a quick health and comfort break. So let us be back by 10:26. Welcome back, everyone. It was very interesting to listen to the insights of our plenary speakers, and as they covered all of the essential topics in their presentations and were overall very informative. Once again, we do encourage all our participants to really take note of those wonderful insights from them. Let us now proceed to the panel discussion and where we will pay attention to a healthy exchange of ideas from panelists and resource speakers about the opportunities for lifelong learning. Afterwards, questions from our participants in Zoom and Facebook Live will also be tackled as part of the open forum. To ensure the smooth flow of discussion and management of the group process and dynamics, we are pleased to have the Department of Education's Supervising Education Program Specialist of Good Manners and Right Conduct and Values Education Curriculum, Homeroom Guidance, Work Immersion Career Guidance, Counseling and Referral System, and National Schools Press Conference from the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Department of Education, Central Office. He's a licensed professional teacher major in values education, registered guidance counselor, registered psychometrician, author of books and journals, and consultant in various subject matters, with the most recent being a mental health primer for communities entitled Usapang Kaisipan. A graduate of the De La Salle University, Manila, with his Doctor of Philosophy degree in Psychology, Master of Arts degree in Education, major in Guidance and Counseling at the University of Perpetual Help, Las Piñas, and Baccalaureate, a degree in Psychology Education stream, and Reading specialization at the Philippine Normal University. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Anthony V. Burcando. The floor is yours, Sir Mark.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jessica. Just a correction, I am not yet done with my PhD. I'm still working on it. But thank you so much for the generous introduction. We are honored to have our well-regarded guest for the third webinar of the 5th National Career Advocacy Congress. By the way, shout out to all the viewers and sharers of this program, most especially to my DepEd family, and of course to our career counselors and guidance counselors nationwide. So at this juncture, we will be joined by experts from accredited professional organizations of the Professional Regulations Commission, PRC, as well as from a premier association of human resource and people managers in the Philippines. Our first panelist is a registered guidance counselor. And a licensed professional teacher. He is currently a master teacher at the Iloilo National High School. He has been involved in different DepEd endeavors, such as module writer for career guidance and homeroom guidance modules. He's also a certified learning facilitator, teacher trainer of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines, the training arm of DepEd. He also serves as coach for continuous improvement and organizational improvement project of the DepEd. He also serves as one of the members of the DepEd Technical Working Group on Mental Health. A Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, graduate from St. Vincent Seminary, Archdiocese of Haro, Master of Education Guidance degree from the University of the Philippines, Visayas, and is finishing his dissertation for his Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology degree at the University of St. La Salle, Bacolod City. A former Public Relations Officer and currently the Vice President for Internal Affairs of the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association, the national organization of guidance counselors, and he is a good friend. Everyone, Mr. Francis Ray Subong.
How are you?
good morning, Sir Mark. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you virtually for almost 2 years, no? Hindi tayo nakita na personally, but it's nice again to see you and to our fellow panelists. Good morning po. Maayong aga sa inyong tanan coming from Iloilo.
And hope to see you during face-to-face, no?
Yes po.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Francis. Our next panelist is a registered psychologist and a guidance counselor, a certified mental health first responder, and certified Genius emotional intelligence coach. He has 36 years of counseling experience in a university environment of adults and mostly young adults. Was a resource person of to faculty, parents, staff, and other stakeholders. An experienced guidance director, a personal effectiveness psychology and philosophy teacher and facilitator for university students. During his stint at the De La Salle University, Manila, he used to run modules, facilitate workshops, and attended to community service engagement, as well as develop some personal development and counseling-related materials. This includes his current task as psychologist, counselor, and consultant on Employee Assistance Program, or EA, commitments at In Touch Community Services. Let us all welcome the President of the Career Development Association of the Philippines, Mr. Jose Joey C. Alejo. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Sir Mark. Thank you very much for the generous introduction. Thank you very much for all the
Our pleasure to have you, sir.
in our panel. Thank you very much.
All right. So our third panelist graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree. Sorry, my script is being covered. Our third panelist graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Management and Industrial Engineering from the Mapua Institute of Technology and has undertaken postgraduate studies in Human Resource Management from the University of Santo Tomas. Among the award citations that she received are Committee of the Year for PR and Publicity in 2010, Media and Communications Committee both in 2015 and 2020, GMM Committee in 2011, and AC Directorate in 2017, and the PMAP Macatao Awards for Media Excellence. Vice President and Annual Conference Chair of the People Management Association of the Philippines, Vice President for Human Resources and Administrative Services of FJ Elizalde Group of Companies, and Associate Partner of MBC Resources Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Ellen C. Polido to complete our powerhouse panelists.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Mark. Thank you to DOLE and the organizers of this event for inviting us and inviting PMAP to share our expertise in the field of discussion this morning. So maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Daghang salamat kaninyo tanan diha sa Visayas ug sa Mindanao. So good morning po.
So lovely to have you here, Ms. Ellen.
Thank you, Sir Mark.
I also invite our plenary speakers, Sir Perry, Ms. Lights, and Sir King to spark conversation among our group of expert panelists. Okay, so
Good morning, everyone.
On board. So we have prepared a few questions revolving on the topics we covered today for you to share your insights. Anyone from the panel can respond and address the queries at hand. After which, we will choose questions from the Zoom and Facebook Live participants, which you may respond to as well. Let me start. So we'll play it by ear. Anybody who's comfortable to start to share their answer would be welcome to be the first. Okay, so career guidance refers to the services which help develop career management skills and is a continuous process throughout life, recognizing its significance to the smooth transition of young people as they make choices about education and training, and to the mobility and re-engagement of job seekers in the labor market. How can career guidance systems be improved to better help support individual careers during economic recovery? Maybe my friend here would start. Francis?
Yes, thank you for that, Sir Mark. No, uh, no. Again, if you're talking about career guidance, no, it's a lifelong process, just like education. And if we go back to the history of career guidance before, it's when it started, it's not career guidance, rather vocational guidance, and it evolved. No, along the way. Now, if we really want to have an effective implementation of career guidance, it does not only take the education sector to do it. Rather, it would include the community, and the industry, and of course the government. No, with all the things that we have right now, for example, we have gaps. No, we have our own strengths. We have to recognize those things. Now, for example, I've seen earlier in the comment section, no, from the chat, no, someone was asking about the IRR of career law. No, in the chat, another person would like to propose a career guidance initiative in the aspect of legislation, which personally, yun nag-usap kami ni Ma'am Vanch on that, no. And personally, maybe on the 19th Congress, which is next year, no, after the elections, we might have to look on this, no. Kasi if we really to be serious on the post COVID recovery, and of course we are right now, the government is asking us to not just look on the pandemic mindset, rather endemic mindset. No, for example, it's ang ganda ng sharing kanina ng mga speakers natin, but we might also look on some strengths, on some phenomenon or phenomena, no, that is happening in our career guidance or in the industry. Just like, for example, the gig economy, no, with the automation, with the etc. No, there's a need to be kumbaga katahiin to integrate all these things, to integrate our efforts, and I hope sooner we can sit down, no, together with the DOLE as the chair. For example, if we look on our setup, tayo sa DepEd, we have our own directions, we have our own activities, TESDA, ILO, DOLE, no? We need to combine our forces, no? In order to really have a strong response, no, for the implementation of career guidance, to have our country as well as our economy, no, na mag recover during this post-pandemic.
Thank you so much for that input, Sir Francis. Maybe Sir Joey could give his thoughts on this.
Thank you for that, Sir Mark. Yeah, for me, you know, for us, especially in CGAP, no, so we take on the strong collaborative effort, you know, especially from the government, industry, NGO, and the academy. These are the four pillars of which career development has to move on, especially calling the attention of the parents, of which they are to be part of this movement as well, because most of the time they're the ones who decide for their children. However, things are so traditional and so fixed, just as what Ms. Lights mentioned, it's not anymore when it's engineering, it's purely engineering. You know, it even encroaches the area of interdiscipline, no, that goes a long way to really make our career relevant, you know, and make it really towards a lifelong facility that it could affect the most human lives, no? Especially we go global, and our career is affected by globalization, and we're more on towards not just for the fourth IR, but even the fifth IR, no? Because of the pandemic, it once what opened the door, no, Pandora's box, to really force us to be in the fifth IR, in as much as we are now making good use of the creativeness, no, creativity to go together with robotics, no. It's just the gap is getting to be so thin, no, between the human and the robots, no, and I think that's where our attention must be focused more. Of course, with the legislations, what Sir Francis mentioned, it's very important to put some teeth on it and to be more grounded as we start with the implementation maybe, and as we start with the joint effort for this vision, no, and quest. That's my thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Joey. In a nutshell, you are pinpointing the Industrial Revolution. I guess it's already 5.0 that we are dealing with right now. Miss Ellen, your take on this, please.
Of course, lifelong learning takes a lot of collaboration from among the educational sector, the academe, the industry, and even the government. You know, this pandemic has really brought a lot of change. All of us have to adapt to the technological advances. You know, when we were discussing Industrial Revolution 4.0 years ago, it was just like a vision. But with the pandemic, it all happened overnight. So we really have to really reskill, upskill, retool ourselves. You know, acquisition of knowledge and skills should not just be from the educational or the academic sector. You know,
Right.
it should not be lodged there. In fact, in PMAP, we're discussing about defining the skill sets, the knowledge, the mindset that we have to give to the academe and to the government, so that it happens right at the beginning of the pipeline, not at the end of the pipeline. You know, if I have to choose a career, I have to match my qualifications versus the skill sets and the knowledge. Everybody's into that, because if we just rely on the teachers to just provide the knowledge, it might not be the same as the requirements right there out there in the real world when students graduate and start working. It's like courtship and marriage. When we speak of lifelong learning, it's a lifelong relationship that we're talking about. So we want, when we're hiring people, our relationship with the employees in HR, we're the womb and the tomb of the employees. And therefore, we would like to make sure that when we hire employees, they are actually matched to the job specifications. There's a fitness, and therefore to establish that fitness, I think we have to start right at the beginning of the pipeline and not at the end of the pipeline. So therefore, these things have to be defined and have to be studied and collaborated by everybody else here.
Well said, Miss Ellen. Maybe our resource persons here would also like to share their thoughts on the question raised. I'm seeing Sir Perry.
Thank you. It's nice to see lights again. I always see lights. And it's a good sign, actually, when I see lights.
We're all doing work in the same areas of advocacy.
But when we talk about career guidance, even our company in particular, we've been in existence 17 years. We have a tough time. We have a tough time with the current employees, with the new batch of employees coming in. There are different emotional aspects now that are in play for our new employees. The outlook for their career very short. So, in fact, even though we are 17,000 employees, we don't have the expertise. Pre-COVID, it's a piece of cake. It's easy. But when COVID came in, things changed when it comes to plans. All the plans have changed. Even our business continuity plan, we had to redo it which is not the topic today. But career guidance to new entrants into the workforce, new employment. If we use and we're trying to change now. If we use the traditional one, it's not going to work. So I'm not saying that it is not effective, but the employees now and the new entrants have a different mindset. It might go back to the same way 3-4 years from now, but currently it is absolutely very different when we talk about their future in our company. Their future doesn't include working here in our factory. Does not include. Their future, the future of our employees, for the most part of our employees does not even involve 8 to 5, 9 to 5, or 8. There is no schedule. Our employees request, of course, not in our factory. They do have shift, but a lot of our shared services, our engineering, our IT, no time schedule. No time. As long as they perform what they do within the day, which extends until the evening, that's what they ask for. And we are trying to adapt to that, which for a senior citizen, it's very difficult. I am very structured. I'm bending a little bit now, but amongst all the employees, I'm probably one of the most difficult to adjust just because of the structure. But I'm not saying I won't, and I am, but it takes me slower. So when we're talking about career guidance, I do not have a solution to that, but because we're still evolving when it comes, our prior mentorship program are scrapped now. It's out. We're redoing our career pathing, completely being redone. Our succession planning, we're starting from step 1 again because it's very difficult. Alam mo, tinuruan ako ni Lights in a little bit of that. I'm learning from the younger generation. I'm listening to our younger entrants now, and it is a game changer. It is a positively disruptive event that is happening. So that's all I can contribute because we're having challenges of our own, and we're trying to work with industries, and even the industries are challenged. The 21st century or 22nd century workforce is gonna look like. So thank you very much for giving me this chance to speak.
Thank you so much for that, Sir Perry, which now leads me to the next question. So the world of work is undergoing a major process of change due to various forces transforming it, from the onward march of technology and the impact of climate change to the impact of demographic changes in economics and employment, among others. What can social partners as well as practitioners impart to future-proof our Filipino talent anchored on lifelong learning for lifelong success? I think some of our panelists here already mentioned some of those, but maybe it's fitting to maybe have a brief and maybe straightforward in the spirit of time. I know that we can do this all day long, no? But of course, we have to be mindful also of the time that that is given to us. Maybe we can start. I am seeing the eye of Miss Ellen. Maybe you want to start here.
How do you future-proof, Mark, our younger sets of people? You know, there's a peculiar characteristic of the millennials and the Gen Zs. You know, we were talking about this in PMAP. they move from one company to the other. They're kind of impatient about staying. I was talking about marriage, a lifelong relationship. That's not what they wanted. You know, in my own company, we're technology savvy. We rely on technology to operate our radio stations all over the country. I belong to the oldest and largest radio network in the country. And more than 10 years ago, we've embraced technology as the way we do radio. So we're no longer terrestrial radio. We're not just into broadcast. We've we've embraced the digital technology in the way we do our news. We deliver the news, public service, and entertainment music. I realized that because of this digital shift, the great digital shift during the pandemic, while we're very grateful that we were able to prepare our organization for the big. I'm also saddened by it because I'm losing a lot of people whom we train to be digitally adept. I've lost 7 people in a period of 2 months. They're getting pirated by companies because these companies really need the skills, the expertise from our digital media team. You know, our competitors now are the BPOs, not even the broadcast and the radio networks. These are BPOs that are really digitally transforming. And so because we have trained a lot of our employees to be digitally savvy, they're now getting pirated and they command a very high price. Now, how do you now prevent these people from being pirated? You know, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they look at the figures, they look at the salaries. They don't even look beyond the salaries. All I want is to be wealthy in a very short time. So wealth is the primary consideration. So if they get pirated and they get offered, they leave you. But however, I've always said it's not all about money. Money is not a motivator. It's a reward for doing the job right at the first time, in the right place and at the right time. So Sir Perry kanina was saying na, paano ba ako mag-a-adjust dito? We have to really change the way we take people in. In fact, um, when a lot of our employees, 50% of those in the news team, in the digital media, used to be student trainees. They used to be our on-the-job trainees. So we've provided them with enough skills and we got the excellent ones, the excellent performers. We have a training program for internship. But, we believe in PMAP that, 150 hours or 300 hours will not be enough to give the students enough skills and knowledge to eventually assume the position and get the job. So in PMAP, just like in ECO, we're proposing a comprehensive apprenticeship program which would allow the students from the secondary, kasi K-12, even the K-12 graduates, they're not employable right now. Let's face it. It's a sad plight for our students. Kasi when you say K-12 graduate ako, I should be able to land a job. But they land a rank and file job, menial jobs. So parang that's not the way we want it to be. Hindi yun yung objective ng K-12. So what we wanted to do is to really equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge, just like si Chef, no? Si Chef King Paul. There's a difference between an electrical engineer and an electrician. The electrical engineer would have the theoretical knowledge and the electrician would have the necessary skills. So we have to combine both of this. So with the apprenticeship program, it allows students to acquire the skills and knowledge and at the same time start earning their own money. So you give them the experience. Of course, this is still in midstream. We're proposing this to DOLE and to the education department so that eventually it becomes a part of the curriculum. As I was saying earlier, it should start at the pipeline, not at the end of the pipeline. So we have to supply all of this to all the different sectors so that it becomes an integrated and collaborative thing to ensure that the industries get the necessary the the right fit for the job, and at the same time, the students, the graduates, even the underprivileged, will have the opportunity to get the right job and the jobs that they want.
Thank you so much for that, Miss Ellen. Of course, we do recognize, and we would love to collaborate with you in DepEd. Fortunately, I'm also the one handling the work immersion of students, so maybe I'll be meeting you soon, no? So I am seeing
actually, Sir Mark, I have with me a draft already prepared by our labor policy reforms and industrial relations committee. Of course, we've gathered all information from the members of PMAP, and we'll be glad to sit down with you so that we can discuss the possibility of adopting this not only for the secondary students, but also for the collegiate students.
All right. Of course, we would love to get all the help that we can from your agency or even from other institutions. I am seeing the nods and affirmation of Miss Lights. Would you like to share your thoughts on this?
You know, I search on me. I've been in the career guidance area, I think, I don't know, for the law, and work with several groups, no, and the most latest SE Sir Perry, no. And it's amazing how the advocacy on career guidance has evolved, right? But it's this time talaga that it really becomes more important. In fact, the ILO has recently we recently released a course on career guidance systems. Actually, I was part of the conversation, and with other organizations, UNESCO, Europe, ETF. And it's amazing how these systems are already very institutional in nature in these countries, you know, in European countries. And what we have are just the collaborations, which means it's a great opportunity for us to build that. I'm going to put on the chat box the recent survey that has been done, because it became more important during the pandemic, no? And they're looking at career guidance as part of a government response for the pandemic, because one thing we noticed, right? Number one, so we recently released that study with World Bank on how the skills delivery has changed, right? Our training delivery has changed, and that will change learning outcomes. So we're not the ones we're seeing now, right? The impact on how people are learning. So iba pa yung academic performance. It's another thing in how they look at how they're learning these skills. And we as trainers have to also adjust accordingly, because everybody is now online. And that also has an impact in terms of the skills we're getting. No? I was hearing what Miss Ellen was saying. No? Parang yung K to 12 hindi pa ready, yung graduate nga hindi pa ready, di ba? And Sir Perry was saying hindi sila ready, no? So how do we ensure that, no? And different schemes, different preparation models, right? Different preparation schemes for our workers so that they would be job ready. And so it becomes, and maybe this is something for nurse, no? That becomes an intervention rather than just a collaboration. We already have the institutional mechanism, which is the CGAP, the National Career Advocacy Group, right? And then, so I guess what's missing now is that policy, which actually the STEM and Workforce Readiness Technical Working Group, where DOLE is part of the OST, and this is one of the things we're looking at. How can we put all these priorities together? But you are in your right track. If you need more tips for the career guidance systems, look, I placed the link on the chat box. You'll see what you were mentioning. Yes, the world is seeing now that we have to act to prepare our learners, our future job seekers, our new entrants.
Thank you, Ms. Lights, and that's really an interesting note to look into, no? And but of course, for the benefit of everyone, in the department which I belong, and Sir Francis, of course, will already release policies on this, and we would love to see papers and data for us to be guided on how to act on the gaps that were mentioned. Okay, Sir Chef King, maybe your words on this.
So basically, I agree with our panelists. So I just want to emphasize lang po as we nurture our groups, for example, the Gen Z or the millennials, we need to also support their passion and help them to discover what they want to be. So, for the past year, the career guidance is nagmaterialize na. Nakikita na natin siya nagmamaterialize during the pandemic because most of the we train in Tesla, hindi sila nahirapan, number one, mag-cope up because everybody became entrepreneur. And you witness how Filipino kumbaga naging sila, resilient, and hindi sila umasa probably doon sa mga, some of the support of the government. So mostly they are equipped with the skills. And I would like to also to I'd like also to share in the ground. So for example, in the province, so most of the trained students, kumbaga nakapag-open sila ng kanilang mga businesses even through online. So I think one of the initiative of the government should be support the passion outside from the box na traditional na they need to study a 4-year course or to finish like this, to be masunod yung kanilang mga parents with regards to line yung kanilang work. Kasi as we see to the student nowadays or trainees, they want to show or to express yung kanilang passion with regards to sa mga skills. And minsan yan nakakatuwa, here in our school, most of our trainees are the second courser. For example, they finish a 4-year baccalaureate degree, they have a good exam, but they skill because sometimes they get bored or sometimes hindi nila gusto yung kanilang trabaho. So siguro yun po yung magiging natin, sana ma-help natin or ma-nurture natin yung ating mga community, how to support yung kanilang passion in terms of their use.
Well said, Sir Paul. Maybe we can have the next question. The OECD Skills Outlook 2021, Learning for Life, issued in June 2021, reports that in the recovery effort, skills will make the difference between staying ahead of the future of the curve or falling behind in a world in constant flux. Countries need to invest part of the resources devoted to the recovery to lifelong learning programs involving all key stakeholders and with a specific focus on vulnerable groups, including young people, women, and workers most at risk of transformation. What policies can you recommend to push this forward? Maybe we miss already the voice of Sir Jovi. Sir Jovi, would you like to start on this?
Okay. Yeah, well, as regard policy, it's important that it cut across all levels from primary, secondary to tertiary as well. With the enhancement of involvement of the parents and the community as well, even the barangay, to really some sort of finding the right force to outsource. Let's say with the match it with the specialty of the region or the place where work are available, so that they will not be transferring or moving from one place to another as well, and enriching that the connection with the industry that is nearby or along the area, and that could be some sort of establishing a local distancing of job placement, whereby everybody will become very busy to be a part of it and be engaged on it. That's how I could see it. Thank you.
Yeah, taking from your words, Sir Jovi, of course, a collaboration is really important, and of course, coordination with the LGUs and other institutions would really help our efforts, or would really strengthen our efforts to do this. Sir Francis, your thoughts on this, please.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sir Mark. No? Looking into the aspect of collaboration, siguro, one thing is that we should have a national framework for this. No? Just just aside ways no, for that. However, I would like to look also on the aspect of the positive education. When we say positive education, yes, we are developing the skills of our not only of the learners but of all. No, and in positive education, if we apply, no, I mean, siguro the positive psychology applied in education, so that's positive education. We look not only on the achievement or the academic skills, no, STEM and other skills needed, but also we would like to look on the well-being skills, which kanina I think this is the prevalence of the shift of this phenomenon, as mentioned by Ma'am Ellen, no? With the millennials, with the Gen Z, I think even as for guidance counselors, we're already seeing this. And we connect that with the gig economy, even millennials, which nasa generation ako ng millennials, many millennials actually are into gig economy. So maganda yung sinasabi kanina ni Sir Perry, no? Your IT experts don't want to have 8 to 5 schedule. For us, for example, maybe, I don't know if sa government na side, no, since it's DOLE, I don't know, we have a representative from the civil service. How about having, just a thought, no, how about having a government working 24/7, shifting yung government personnel, because this is already the direction. Just imagine, no, kasi gusto ko ito yung time ko. Gusto ko ito yung time ko. You're not fixated on 8 to 5, no? And remember, few years from now, maybe sa data, I mean, our partners can correct me, no? Malaki yung nasa workforce natin yung Gen Z, no? It will at least siguro 40-50% are Gen Z. And remember, we are dynamic. So how can we apply, or can we still apply the time-tested principles or systems, as we would say, into a dynamic workforce and a dynamic world? I think these are some things, no, we need to consider. It might be far-fetched, maybe as of the moment, but we don't know. These are some thoughts, maybe some directions that we need to consider.
Thank you, Sir Francis. In a nutshell, I'm getting from you that we have to be responsive.
Yeah.
And we have to be sensitive in terms of the dynamism of what is happening around. Okay?
Yes, po.
Thank you so much, sir. Miss Ellen, you want to say something on this?
I would just like to echo that, no, because of the characteristic, this unique characteristic of the Gen Zs and the millennials, they're different, no? Parang tayo no, naging teenagers naman tayo. We both had that same growth pattern, adult life. But you know, see, Sir Perry was saying about I want to have my own schedule. You know, in the company where I work, we have a lot of schedules. We've adapted that pre-pandemic already, but it was heightened during the pandemic. And when we asked people to telecommute, when we requested them to work from home, we gave them all the connectivity, the hardware and the software, all the technology and the system for them to do the work at home. How do you now measure productivity? How do you now measure the performance, especially of the millennials? You have to come up with something where you have a performance appraisal system. You have to break the norm. You have to go out of the box, remove the box, break the silos. You know what we did? We came up with a very simple form called key performance output. You know, the managers and the department heads, they would be asking, How do I measure the performance of my staff? Do I even know if they're working? You know, I don't require people to log in just so we can measure the 8 hours per day work. We're not working 8 hours per day. We have to measure them by the output they deliver per day, per week, per month. So out of that form, all that you need to do is list down the tasks assigned to you per day, per week, and per month, and put there the outputs, the results, the deliverables that are required from you. Eventually, it became the performance appraisal system because out of the task, this was delivered. How did he or she deliver the results? Was it excellent? Was it just good? Or was it poor? Then you have to put your ratings and qualify the ratings. You have to put the critical incidents. If you don't deliver, why didn't you deliver? If it was excellently delivered, what was the attribute? Where can you attribute the excellent performance even while working from home, right? So you have to come up with ways and means. Be creative, get out of the box, innovate. That's what we're trying to pursue here. So hindi na tayo nakakahon lang. Kung ito dating ginagawa natin, dapat dapat we have to go out of our ways to come up with something in order to address a particular situation. Pero I would like to just, you know, take particular note of what Sir Francis said. No, in the way we do things now, there has to be a connect between the organizational values and the personal values of our learners, our workers. Let us not forget that while we are agile, while we are dynamic, let us not forget that there are values that we share, and that we shouldn't forget that we have to educate also our employees, our workers, and the future workers that we have to stick to certain values, and that the organization would have values, and you have to fit into the values also, right?
Yeah, taking it from Ellen, of course, what's important now is, of course, we're coming out from a traditional perspective of being productive. Okay, Sir King, you may want to say something on this.
Okay na po. Sorry.
Okay, Ms. Lights, any sharing?
Yeah, you know, as you can see, you know, we are realizing even from a policy level how we need to think. As sabi nga ni Miss Ellen, remove the box. The box is no longer there. The box is no longer there. And so even like this, right? How can we? This is one of the skills, right, that our workers need to have. How do we collaborate across organizations? How do we discuss this online? How do we develop something out of what we've discussed? And so you're seeing here how important, you know, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration. How do we communicate the problem, right? And how do we teach that? That's the thing, right? How do we redesign our training systems now so that we can encapsulate all that we just mentioned? And this is just a small part of it, no? One of the skills we identified was transdisciplinary thinking, like being able, and which is what's essential for career guidance systems. How are we able to connect each of these systems and make it work towards one common goal? And this is where I think this conversation is a good start in terms of plotting out, like, this is what we're needing. This is the generation of learners, because there is a different kind of leadership also for a different generation of workers, right? The Gen Z, what do they want? Gen X, the Gen Y. Gen X pa ba? Meron pa naman tayo nga Gen X, right? Pero the Gen X will adjust to the Gen Z and the Gen Y, right? So us as managers, right? How do we adjust that? Diba? So it's also different tools. So even for us, I think what we should not also forget is the capacity building of our counselors, our advocates, because it really is different. No? It's really different on how we engage with them. Actually, that's what we included also for STEM skills, the pedagogies for our trainers. How do you teach STEM skills, right? How do you teach collaboration, critical thinking? How do you integrate that? And so I think that's one thing we also have to emphasize, because it's one thing we talk about. This is another thing if our audience out here, I saw a question a while ago, is there a STEM skills assessment? Ayan na, no? And how do you do that digitally? That's another thing, right? Your psychological tests, can you do that online? How do you validate that? So lots of exciting things. I think that's the silver lining of the pandemic also. It's an opportunity to revisit and to redesign these systems so that we might be able to accomplish, those goals.
Thank you for that, Ms. Lights. I wish we could have more time on this, no, but I think we already reached the end of this conversation. Maybe we can ask already your parting words for our viewers. Who wants to go first?
Okay, me first.
Yeah, Sir Joey, go ahead.
Yeah, at least maybe the challenge for us in the 21st century is that for us to have a very strong, open mindset to whatever is there for us, especially in challenging ourselves and in confronting even to what we have, as well as not forgetting our becoming as well as our being. So to connect that as making us a whole person even on this pandemic and in the 21st century. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Joey. Sir Francis, would you like to be the next one?
Yes, thank you so much, Sir Mark. As part of my parting words, we need to collaborate, and of course, in collaboration, yes, we may look, or generally we look for our commonality, for our common goal, but we must not also forget the individual concerns of our players, of our key stakeholders. No? Of course, as part of the PGCA of mental health professionals, the specialists, the career specialists on this aspect in the Philippines, we are trying our best to collaborate, to network, and to partner with different agencies, especially DOLE, with the DepEd, TESDA, and all the key stakeholders here, so that we can also play our vital role, especially when it comes to career guidance.
Thank you so much for that parting words. Ms. Ellen?
I would just like to say that we know that the education sector plays a huge role in preparing our human capital. More than this, we also need to acknowledge that it does not only take one sector to build our human capital, but we also need to see the huge role played by other stakeholders such as the industries, the government, and the like. No? Hence, we need to strengthen the linkage of these systems in order to build a robust and well-prepared workforce for the future.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ellen. Sir King?
I think we need to have a massive campaign or information on the different services of the government and private sector that help our workforce of the country. So I think we need more to go to the ground, talk to the people what they need, and also implement kung ano po yung mga batas na meron na tayo. So sometimes we need laws, policies na nag-i-exist na, kumbaga nag-overlapping sila. We need to be consistent with our training materials. We need to adapt kung ano man po yung mga possibilities pa na pwede mangyari in the future. So but I think po we need to be consistent and follow the policy that we have.
Yeah, well said, Sir King. Of course, the last woman standing, of course, but not the least. Ms. Lights?
Thank you, Mark. Something to pabaon na lang, no? Pag-uwi. So, effective career guidance really helps individuals reach their full potential, no? And also economies to become more efficient and societies to become fairer. So we provide, career guidance is providing people with personalized, impartial, and timely information. And in light of the growing negative impact of the pandemic, especially on national labor markets and, people's lives, I think the role of career guidance has become even more important to individuals, families, communities, workforce, employers, and society. And we hope that everybody, we can all work together in providing that kind of intervention, particularly during this pandemic. So thank you, and it was great meeting everybody and hearing your thoughts and insights on this. So thank you.
Of course, it's really wonderful to be with you even on a virtual world, and we hope to do this on a face-to-face basis, no? And a pleasure having you in this program. Of course, career guidance is always a collective effort, and it has to be a collaborative or deliberate decision of everyone, no? So from there, I am now, and thank you so much, panelists, of course, Sir Francis, Sir Joey, Miss Ellen, Sir King, and Sir and Miss Lights, of course. Thank you so much for being here. With that, I'm now turning over the virtual floor to Miss Jessica.
Maraming salamat, Sir Mark.
Thank you, sir.
To everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Mark, and to our field experts for bringing diverse perspectives to the table and for, of course, providing the latest industry trends and insights. Now, at this moment, may we request our speakers, panelists, and moderator to please turn on their cameras on once again for a quick photo op. There you have it. Hold your beautiful smiles.
Okay, so on the count of on countdown, 3, 2, 1, smile. One more. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, let's check. Okay, we're good. Thank you very much.
There you have it. Thank you once again to all our speakers, panelists, and moderator. May I just say that we are receiving overwhelming support here in Zoom with over 400 participants. Thank you so much. We'd like to give a big shout out to those who have been tuning in since day 1 till day 3 of our webinar. And as we come to the end of our program, let us listen to the closing remarks from DOLE Assistant Secretary for Employment and General Administration Cluster and Concurrent Director 4 of the Bureau of Local Employment, Ms. Dominique Rubia Tutay.
Good morning again to our respectable guests and engaged participants. On behalf of Secretary Silvestre H. Bello III and Undersecretary Ana Dione, we would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our inspiring guests and panelists who shared their meaningful life learning journey and valuable insights in this third webinar installment of this year's National Career Advocacy Congress. We are happy to have lots of dedicated partners who are passionate about lifelong learning and dedicated to promote such positive culture within workforce communities. Lifelong learning enhances our understanding of the world around us, provides us with more and better opportunities, and improves our quality of life. It is about creating and maintaining a culture of learning, both for personal and professional development. As takeaways from today's webinar, skills and commitment to lifelong learning are vital to meet the workforce needs, particularly those that the future workplace dramatically changes with exponential technology. With the emergence of entirely new industries, retraining and skills development is indeed critical to ensure competitiveness and employability in the long term. In a labor market where skills needs will evolve rapidly in the future, lifelong learning shall become integral to sustain employment and career progression. Thus, let us never stop learning, as life never stops teaching. We hope to see you again on Friday, December 10, 2021, for the 5th NCAC culminating activity, We shall have the synthesis of the webinars and the presentation of outputs from the regional consultation workshops relative to the Career Guidance Advocacy Plan 2018 to 2022, as we enjoin our stakeholders in the work of optimizing education and employment support systems and cultivating an entrepreneurial, global, and knowledge-based ecosystem. Before I end, I'd just like to congratulate my team for a well-done job for this NCAC, headed by Grace, and also, of course, yung atin pong NCAC activities by Ms. Vange Aveniante and her team. So, congratulations, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Asek Nikki. With this, we would like to thank all our generous speakers, panelists, and participants for joining us in the third webinar of this year's NCAC. Indeed, a great way to wrap up our webinar series through meaningful dialogue on human capital development. And again, we invite you to join us this coming Friday, that's December 10th, for the NCAC culminating activity. Again, my name is Jessica Garcia, and this has been the 5th National Career Advocacy Congress, Webinar 3. Let us all have a great day and stay safe.